best things to do in Provence, France. The mere mention of Provence conjures some of the most idyllic images of lavender fields, sunflowers, olive groves, cicadas, vineyards, and that indescribable light that inspired the post-impressionist painters like Cézanne. You can follow in their footsteps, lounging at the cafes and Aix and heading out into the countryside to find medieval abbeys and dreamy villages in this stark landscape swept by the Mistral wind. Whatever your taste, there's a list of things that you shouldn't leave out from your trip, whether it's the papal place in Avignon or the incredible rocky inlets between Marseille and Cassis. Pope's Palace, Avignon. In the 14th century, this world-renowned building was the residence for 6 popes, and so was the seat of Western Christianity. It's one of an ensemble of structures with UNESCO listing in Avignon and one of the world's largest and most important Gothic buildings. Safe to say that it has to be on your agenda if you're in the region. The architecture, which was the height of medieval craftsmanship, will drive home the opulence and splendor enjoyed by the popes during their exile from the Vatican. You'll get access to more than 20 rooms, including Clement IV's papal apartments, where the exquisite Gothic frescoes by Matteo Giovanetti survive to this day. Senanque Abbey, Gordes. This is one attraction that must be visited between June and August when the lavender is in bloom. If there's one site that crystallizes everything that people adore about Provence, it's the pale grey walls of this Romanesque building, edged by cypress trees behind a lavender field. The Abbey is from the 1100s and is usually incorporated into lavender tours. If you can, try to get there as early as possible, when the field catches the low sunlight and when there aren't so many people around. The monks make a living from the fields and also keep honeybees. Typical for the Romanesque style, the building is stark and unembellished, but complements its florid setting perfectly. Old Port of Marseille from the 6th century BC. This was one of ancient Europe's trading hubs. What we see today, this rectangular finger of water with quays on 3 sides, is mostly from the 1700s. It's a symbol for Marseille, a place for locals to meet, go for meals, and take some evening entertainment. Tourists will be astounded by the rows of yachts, which seem to go on forever. You could do a full circuit of the port, which will take about half an hour on foot, or catch the ferry from the Quai du Port to Quai du Revenu for 50 €. The port is also more than a tourist trap, as fishing still has a role in the city's economy. On the Quai de Belgies, there's a fish market for the day's catch. Gorges du Verdon, running for 25 kilometers through the Verdon Regional Park, is one of Europe's most admired natural settings. At points, this limestone canyon reaches depths of more than 700 meters, and when you gaze down at the river, you'll be captivated by its bright turquoise color. It attracts sightseers from around the world, and you don't even need to leave the comfort of your car for views that will last a lifetime. But of course, it's much more rewarding if you do. Many visitors rent a boat for a couple of hours, stopping occasionally to swim in these sparkling waters. You can approach the gorge on foot via a range of hikes, and there are also some 1,500 climbing routes on the limestone cliffs of the valley walls. Carrières de Lumières, Les Baux-de-Provence. Chances are you'll never have seen a cultural attraction like this before. Carrières de Lumières is an audiovisual experience set in the vast, cathedral-like galleries of a former limestone quarry. Some 100 Ultra HD projectors project images totaling 6,000 square meters onto the pristine sheer walls and accompany them with music and ambient sound. Even the ground is completely covered, and like the walls, the patterns are in constant motion. The theme changes by the year, but is always art-related. Past shows have projected the works of Pablo Picasso, Paul Cézanne, Vincent van Gogh, and Marc Chagall. Vieil Aix, a real taste of Provence, can be had on the streets in the center of Aix. People interested in French culture will get frissons tracing the steps of the icons who lived here, such as Émile Zola, Albert Camus, and Paul Cézanne. You can amble along the Cours Mirabeau under the plane trees and take a seat at one of the many cafes that are steeped in 19th and 20th century cultural history. Make your way up to the medieval cathedral, which contains tapestries from the 1500s and a triptych from the 1400s depicting René of Anjou, Count of Provence, up to 1480. Téléphérique du Mont Faron, Toulon. Some of Provence's highbrow attractions may go over the heads of the youngest visitors, but this cable car ride up Mount Faron in Toulon is something everyone can agree on. MIT's the only cable car in the region and takes you up to 584 meters above sea level. At the summit, the panoramas of the port of Toulon and the famous Azure Sea is unbeatable. There's a small zoo, a chapel, and a couple of places to stop for lunch at the top. After that, you can get the cable car back down or take the scenic route via one of the hiking trails. Parc National de Calanques, one of France's 10 national parks, the Calanques is the only one to combine coastal and inland territory. What everyone comes to see is that rocky limestone coastline, which plunges to the sea from great heights and has deep indentations that resemble fjords. Hikers traipse along the GR51 to heart-stopping vantage points such as Corniche de Cretes and Cap Canaille, and the best time to do this is late winter and spring. This is because there's a risk of fire in summer and some of the trails may be closed off. The going can be quite tough on the trails, so many people catch a tour boat from Marseille, and the view from the water is arguably better than on land. You'll love how the sea glows turquoise against the white limestone. Musée de l'Alzite de la Provence Antiques Museum for its ancient heritage is set where the city's Roman circus once stood. You'll come away from this attraction with a clearer image of ancient civilization in Provence. Take the model of the Barbagal Aqueduct and Mill, in which water from the aqueduct fed 2 parallel sets of 8 water wheels to power a flour mill. Als Rhône 3 meanwhile is an authentic Roman barge that was excavated from the Rhône in 2011. It's on display alongside its large cargo of amphorae. If you have an eye for ancient history, it might be hours before you re-emerge from this museum and its galleries with early Christian sarcophagi, mosaics, and sculptures. Château de Baux-de-Provence, this fortress atop a rugged spur, has been in a state of ruin since it was demolished in the 1600s. Only decayed towers and fragments of the chapel remain today, but the chateau brings feudal times back to life is with its menacing set of life-sized siege engines. These include a ballista, a kind of giant crossbow, a mangonel, a BG catapult, and, most excitingly, Europe's largest trebuchet. This huge machine is loaded up and launched several times a day during the summer. There's also a replica medieval forge, where a blacksmith will show you how to craft swords and axes, as well as swordplay and archery demonstrations. Thanks for watching the video, friends. I hope you liked it.